He built the largest empire the world had ever seen. But here's the thing, he didn't do it with just terror and brute force. He did it with an idea so revolutionary it literally changed the course of history. Today we're talking about the incredible story of Cyrus the Great.
I mean, think about it. How does a kid who was marked for death by his own grandfather survive and go on to change the entire world? It's the ultimate hero's journey, really. It all starts with a terrifying prophecy, a paranoid king, and a baby who was never, ever supposed to survive.
Okay, so to really get Cyrus, you have to understand the world he was born into. And frankly, it was a brutal place. The main power, the Assyrian Empire, basically ruled through sheer terror. So when they finally collapsed, it just left this huge power vacuum filled with chaos and war. This world was desperate for a new kind of leader, someone different.
And our story really kicks off with a prophecy. You know, the kind that seals a baby's fate long before he's even born.
So, the king of Media, a guy named Astyages, has these two dreams that absolutely terrify him. He doesn't see a future with a cute little grandson. Nope, he sees a threat. He sees the guy who's going to take his throne. And his solution is as simple as it is horrifying. Just eliminate the child.
But here's the first twist. The general he orders to do the dirty work, Harpagus, just can't bring himself to kill a baby. So instead, he secretly gives the infant to a shepherd to raise. This means Cyrus grows up with absolutely no idea that he's royalty. And ironically, it's this humble upbringing that forges all the skills he's going to need for his incredible destiny.
All right, let's fast forward. Cyrus is now a young man, and he's a natural leader. But it's one single, truly horrific act of revenge that finally lights the fuse for his rebellion.
King Astyages eventually finds out about his general's betrayal, and his revenge is, well, it's monstrous. He serves Harpagus, his very own son, to eat at a feast. It's unbelievable. Harpagus, heartbroken but just burning with a need for vengeance, secretly reaches out to the now adult Cyrus. And just like that, this one act of unimaginable cruelty gives Cyrus a powerful, highly motivated ally deep inside the enemy's camp.
So with Harpagus' help, Cyrus decides it's time to rally the Persian tribes. But he doesn't just give a speech. Oh no, he gives them a 2-day masterclass in motivation. On the first day, he makes them do backbreaking labor from sunrise to sunset. He wants them to feel the harsh reality of their current lives.
Then, on day 2, he shows them the alternative. He throws this huge, lavish feast, amazing food, plenty of wine, a celebration. He's giving them a vision, a taste of the prosperity and freedom they could have if they just followed him. The contrast couldn't be more clear or more effective.
And this is his genius right here. He doesn't just promise a better future, he lets them experience it for a day. Faced with such a clear choice between a life of hard labor and a life of freedom, the Persian tribes all unite behind him. The rebellion was on.
But look, charisma alone doesn't build an empire. Cyrus was also a brilliant military strategist. He totally understood that being clever could be way more powerful than just brute force. Let's take his war against Lydia. The Lydians' greatest strength was their incredible cavalry. So Cyrus's general, Harpagus, comes up with this wild idea. He puts the army's baggage camels right at the front line. Well, the Lydian horses had never smelled a camel before, and they totally panicked, completely neutralizing Lydia's most powerful weapon without a single sword needing to be swung. It was unconventional, completely unexpected, and it was decisive. But honestly, his greatest weapon wasn't even a military tactic. It was his reputation. When he arrived at the gates of Babylon, the greatest city in the world, there was no bloodied, drawn-out siege. The local priests, who were fed up with their own king, just opened the gates and welcomed him in as a liberator. His reputation for tolerance had already conquered the city before his army even got there.
And that reputation was built on his most revolutionary idea of all, a totally new philosophy for how to build and how to hold an empire together.
The contrast with what came before is just staggering. Empires like Assyria ruled through fear, mass executions, destroying cultures, forcing everyone to be the same. Cyrus did the complete opposite. He protected local customs, he respected different religions, and he built his entire empire on a foundation of justice, not fear.
This created what we might call a tolerance flywheel. Every act of mercy, every respected temple was like another push on this giant wheel. It just built more and more momentum. His reputation grew, which made the next conquest that much easier.
Pretty soon, people started to see surrendering to Cyrus not as a defeat, but as a liberation.
And you know, there's no clearer example of this than his most famous act. After he conquered Babylon, he freed the Jewish people who'd been held captive there for decades. And he didn't just let them go home. He actually funded the rebuilding of their holy temple in Jerusalem. This one act earned him a place of honor in the Old Testament and really cemented his legacy as a liberator.
So what was the ultimate result of this incredible life? Let's take a look at the legacy of the man history would come to call the Great.
Think about this for a second. In just 25 years, 25, Cyrus went from being the leader of a small state to the ruler of the biggest empire the world had ever seen. That kind of incredible speed was only possible because he conquered not just with armies, but with an idea.
And he died exactly how he lived, not in a soft palace bed, but on the battlefield, leading his men from the front, even into his 60s. You have to admit, for a lifelong conqueror, it was a fitting end.
His legacy is just immense. He's revered as the father of modern Iran. Centuries later, even Alexander the Great, the guy who would one day conquer his empire, paid his respects at Cyrus's tomb. He literally created the blueprint for how a successful, multicultural, tolerant empire could work, and it's a model that echoed down through history.
So what is his ultimate legacy? You know, maybe it's best to just use his own words, inscribed on a clay cylinder right after he conquered Babylon. And this isn't just some boastful title. This is a statement of a reality that he built from nothing. The boy who was marked for death had become, in his own words, the king of the universe.